My best friend and I promised to rise together. We shared struggles, dreams, and secrets. I believed nothing could break our bond. Then she became rich. Her life changed fast. New friends, new world, new attitude. Calls stopped. Messages were ignored. One day she looked at me like I no longer existed. I didn't lose her because of a fight. I lost her because money made her forget who stood by her when she had nothing. Lies were told. Silence replaced loyalty. And the friend I once loved became a stranger. But life has a way of turning things around. Just when I thought our story was over, she came back, broken, humbled, and in need of the very person she abandoned. This is a story of friendship, betrayal, karma, and healing. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The worst pain is not when someone hurts you. It is when they act like you never mattered. The night my best friend ignored my calls, I sat on the floor with my phone in my hands until it went dark. The battery died before my hope did. I kept staring at the screen, waiting for her name to appear. It never did. Her name was Zara. She was not just my friend. She was the only person who knew my fears, my hunger, my secrets. We had survived things together that should have broken us. We were poor, yes, but we were together. And that made life bearable. Before money came into her life, Zara needed me. She needed my time, my listening ear, my strength. When she cried, I stayed. When she wanted to give up, I reminded her who she was. When she had nothing, I shared what little I had without counting it. I never asked for anything in return. Friendship was enough. We used to sit in the dark and talk about tomorrow. If I ever become rich, she once said, her voice full of dreams, I will take you out of this life. I laughed and told her, just don't forget me. She promised she wouldn't, but promises are easy when you have nothing. The day success found her, everything changed quietly. No warning, no goodbye. Her phone calls reduced. Her voice became cold. When I talked, she listened like she was doing me a favor. When I needed her, she was suddenly always busy. Still, I defended her. I told myself she was adjusting. I told myself money had not entered her heart. I told myself friendship meant patience. Then one afternoon, I went to see her. I stood at the gate of her new house feeling small and dirty, like I didn't belong in that world. The security man looked at me with suspicion, as if poverty was a crime. He asked who I was. I'm her friend, I said. He laughed quietly before calling inside. I waited under the sun for what felt like forever. When Zara finally appeared, she didn't run to me. She didn't smile. She looked scared, ashamed, almost angry. She hugged me quickly and pulled away. You should have called, she said. I did, I replied. Many times. She avoided my eyes. Inside the house, people laughed loudly, music played, glasses clinked. I stood there like a ghost. No one greeted me. No one offered me a seat, and Zara acted like she did not notice. That hurt more than hunger ever did. She laughed with them. She smiled for them. She became someone else right in front of me, and I understood something terrible. I was a shadow from her past, a reminder of poverty, something she needed to hide. I left without speaking again. Outside, my chest tightened, my hands shook. I walked until my legs could no longer carry me. I sat on the ground and cried like a child who had been abandoned. That night, I sent one last message. Did I do something wrong? She read it. She did not reply. That was when I knew. She didn't forget me by mistake. She chose to forget me. And the girl who once called me her sister had erased me from her life like I never existed. I went to bed with a heavy heart, not knowing that this was only the beginning. Because when friendship dies in silence, it does not rest peacefully. It comes back to haunt everyone involved. And soon, life would force her to remember me. After Zara erased me from her life, the silence did not stay quiet for long. Silence turned into whispers. Whispers turned into lies. And lies spread faster than truth ever could. At first, people stopped greeting me the way they used to. Neighbours who once smiled now looked at me with curiosity, then with judgment. When I entered a room, conversations paused for a second before continuing in low voices. I felt it, even when no one said anything. Then, one afternoon, I heard my name spoken in a way that made my stomach turn. "She used Zara," a woman said behind me. "She stayed close because she wanted money," another replied. I heard Zara suffered because of her. I froze. That was when I realized something terrible was happening. A story was being told about me, and I was not part of it. Later that evening, a friend sent me a message. My hands shook as I read it. "Nia, what did you do to Zara?" That was when the ground truly fell beneath my feet. I searched online with shaking fingers. Zara's name was everywhere now. Photos, interviews, smiles, fame. And under one of the posts, someone had commented, "Glad she finally cut off fake friends who were dragging her down." People liked the comment, shared it, added more words. Each word felt like a slap. I wanted to scream that it was a lie. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to call Zara and ask her why she was letting people destroy my name. But I was blocked. Everywhere. Phone, messages, social media. Blocked like I never existed. I sat on my bed that night and cried until my chest hurt. I remembered all the times I stood by her, all the nights I listened, all the sacrifices I made quietly. None of it mattered anymore. The next day, I went out to clear my head. On the street, two girls passed me and laughed. "That's her," one whispered. "The jealous friend." Jealous. That word followed me everywhere. At work, my boss called me aside and asked if I had any personal issues that could affect the company's image. At the market, a woman refused to sell to me on credit like she used to. Even people who knew the truth chose silence, afraid of being connected to me. I was alone. What hurt the most was not the lies. It was Zara's silence. She could have spoken. One sentence from her could have ended everything. One post, one message, one call. But she chose to protect her image instead of the girl who protected her when she had nothing. That realization cut deep. One night, I broke down completely. I locked myself in my room and cried like I was mourning a death. Because in a way, I was. The friendship I loved was gone, and in its place stood a stranger who watched my pain and did nothing. I found an old voice note on my phone that night. Zara had sent it years ago, crying after being rejected by another opportunity. "If not for you, I would have given up," her voice said. "Please don't ever leave me." I listened to it again and again until it hurt too much. That was when something inside me hardened. I realized I could not keep begging someone who had already decided to forget me. I could not fight lies with tears, and I could not build my life around someone who saw me as a problem. So I made a quiet decision. I would stop chasing explanations. I would stop defending myself to people who enjoyed misunderstanding me. I would survive. I deleted her number. I muted her name wherever I saw it. I forced myself to wake up every morning, even when my heart felt too heavy to move, but deep inside one thought kept burning. If lies could destroy me this easily, what would happen when the truth finally showed its face? And somewhere far away, while my name was being dragged through the mud, Zara was smiling for cameras, unaware that the same silence she used to protect herself was slowly digging a grave beneath her perfect life. Because lies do not disappear. They wait, and they always demand payment. If pain had a sound, it would be the way my door closed that morning. Soft, final, heavy. After the lies spread, everything in my life began to fall apart at the same time. It was like once my name was stained, nothing wanted to stay with me anymore. Friends disappeared. Opportunities dried up. Even hope felt tired of trying. One morning, my landlord knocked on my door. He didn't greet me. He didn't smile. "You have 2 weeks," he said. "If you can't pay, you leave." I nodded slowly, pretending I was strong enough to hear that. The moment he walked away, my legs gave up. I sat on the floor and stared at the wall for a long time. I had no savings, no one to borrow from, and no best friend to run to. Not anymore. That same day, I lost my job. My supervisor called me into the office and avoided my eyes. He spoke about company image and recent rumors. He said it calmly, like he was talking about the weather. I wanted to ask him what proof he had. I wanted to defend myself, but I was too tired. I packed my things and walked out without saying goodbye. Outside, the sun was bright, but my world felt dark. I sat on a bench and cried into my hands, not caring who saw me. For the first time in my life, I felt completely unwanted. Days passed, and hunger became normal. I ate once a day, sometimes not at all. At night, my stomach hurt, but the pain in my heart hurt more. I replayed memories in my head, wondering where everything went wrong. Was I too loyal? Was I too available? Did loving her make me weak? One evening, I fell sick. My body was hot. My head ached. I lay on my bed, shaking, calling names that never came. I reached for my phone without thinking and almost called Zara. My finger hovered over her name. Then I remembered. I dropped the phone and turned my face to the wall. That night I cried like someone who had been abandoned twice, by a friend and by life itself. When I finally gathered strength to step outside, I went to see Auntie Mo, the only woman who still spoke to me without judgment. She listened quietly as I poured out everything, the lies, the silence, the loneliness. When I finished, she looked at me and said something I will never forget. "Some people don't hate you," she said. "They just hate who you remind them of." Her words sank deep. She gave me food, she gave me space, but most importantly, she gave me truth. "You cannot die here," she said firmly. "You will rise, but not by chasing people who dropped you." That night, I slept on her floor, staring at the ceiling. I realized that if I stayed in that pain, it would swallow me whole. No one was coming to save me. Not Zara. Not anyone. I had to choose myself. The next morning I woke up with swollen eyes and a heavy heart, but also with a strange calm. I sold the last valuable thing I owned, my small laptop. It hurt, but it gave me a little money to breathe. With that money, I printed a few flyers and started looking for any work I could find. Cleaning, errands, anything honest. I was ashamed, but I was alive. One afternoon, while clearing old boxes at a small shop, I found a notebook. Inside were ideas Zara and I once wrote together. Business plans, dreams, silly sketches. I sat down and cried again. But this time the tears were different, because for the first time since everything collapsed, I felt something else rising inside me. Anger. Not the wild kind. The quiet, determined kind. The kind that says, "I will not let this break me." I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But I knew one thing for sure. Rock Bottom had introduced me to a version of myself I had never met before. And she was not weak. She was just getting started. Survival became my daily prayer. I stopped waiting for miracles. I stopped hoping someone would come and rescue me. Each morning, I woke up and asked myself only one question. How do I get through today? Some days the answer was simple. Some days it was painful. I took any work I could find. I cleaned houses that were bigger than my whole life. I washed clothes for people who did not know my name. I ran errands under the hot sun and smiled when they spoke to me like I was invisible. Pride had no place in my new reality. At night, when my body was tired, my mind refused to rest. That was when the memories came. I remembered the ideas Zara and I used to talk about late at night. Small business plans. Things we laughed about because we had no money to start them. I remembered how excited she used to get, how she said, "One day, this will save us." One evening, while resting at Auntie Mo's place, I opened that old notebook again. I read every page slowly. My hands shook, but my heart felt steady. That notebook was not just dreams. It was proof. Proof that I had always been more than someone's shadow. I decided to try. Not because I was sure it would work, but because doing nothing was killing me. I started small. Very small. I borrowed a little money from Auntie Mo and promised to return it even if it took years. I began working quietly without telling anyone. No posts, no announcements, just effort. Days turned into weeks. Some people laughed when they saw me, some whispered. Some said, "Isn't that Zara's old friend?" The words stung, but they no longer stopped me. I learned to work with pain sitting beside me, like an unwanted guest. Meanwhile, far away from my struggle, Zara's life looked perfect on the outside. Her face was everywhere, interviews, events, smiles. But something had changed. The sparkle in her eyes was gone. Her laughter sounded forced. She was surrounded by people, yet she always looked alone. Behind closed doors, her life was not what people imagined. Her schedule controlled her every move. Her manager spoke for her. Her phone was checked. Her decisions were questioned. She was rich, but not free. One night, after a long event, Zara locked herself in her room and cried. She stared at her phone, scrolling through old contacts. When she saw my name, her chest tightened. She did not call. Pride held her back. Back in my world, the pressure was building. Bills waited patiently. Progress was slow. There were days I wanted to give up. Days my body shook from stress. Days I wondered if silence would swallow me forever. But each time I felt weak, I remembered how it felt to be erased. And I refused to go back there. One evening, something unexpected happened. A woman I once worked for noticed my effort. She asked questions. She listened. She encouraged me. For the first time in a long while, someone looked at me with respect, not pity. That small moment gave. From the outside, Zara's life still looked like a dream. Her pictures filled the internet. Beautiful clothes, bright lights, smiling faces. People called her lucky and blessed. They said she had made it. They said she was living the life every girl wanted. But dreams can rot quietly. Behind closed doors, Zara was drowning. The people who once praised her now spoke to her with sharp voices. Her manager shouted more than he smiled. Meetings became arguments. Promises turned into threats. Every mistake, no matter how small, came with punishment. One morning she asked for a day off. "You don't rest when you are an investment," her manager replied coldly. That was when fear settled deep in her heart. Money was coming in, but it was not staying. Fees, percentages, penalties. She signed papers she never fully understood because she trusted the people who said they were helping her. Each signature tied her tighter to a life she no longer controlled. Then the betrayal happened. Toby, the friend who stayed closest to her in her new life, began stealing quietly. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Zara did not notice until it was too late. When the accounts were checked, the numbers did not add up, and someone needed to take the blame. They chose Zara. Accusations filled the room. Voices rose, doors slammed. Her manager threatened lawsuits. Sponsors pulled away. People who once answered her calls now sent short messages or none at all. The same silence she gave me returned to her. Late one night, Zara sat alone in her big house, staring at unpaid bills. The lights were on, but the house felt empty. She tried calling friends. No one answered. She sent messages. They were read and ignored. Her hands started to shake. For the first time since she became rich, Zara felt truly afraid. She remembered the days when life was hard but honest, when laughter was real, when one person always picked up her calls, no matter the time. My face came to her mind. She pushed the thought away at first. Pride whispered that she didn't deserve my help. Guilt reminded her of how she treated me, but fear was louder. The next blow came fast. Her manager sent her a message. "You are suspended until further notice. Do not contact the brand. That night, everything collapsed. Zara packed a small bag and left quietly. No cameras, no assistants, no luxury car. She moved like a shadow, afraid of being seen. For the first time in years, she was alone with her thoughts. She tried to remember when things started going wrong. And the answer hurt. The moment she cut off the only person who loved her without conditions. She stood at a bus stop late that night, surrounded by strangers holding back tears. Her phone battery was low. Her pride was lower. She scrolled through her contacts again. My name was still there. Her finger hovered over it. Back in my small room, I was counting my little earnings for the day. My life was still hard, but it was honest. I had learned how to breathe again. Then my phone vibrated. An unknown number. The message was short, simple, broken. Nia, please, I need to see you. I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart tightened, because I knew something had finally caught up with her, and whatever it was, it had the power to change everything. I did not answer her message that night, not because I didn't see it, but because my hands were shaking too much to type. I read the words over and over again, hoping they would stop hurting. Nia, please, I need to see you. Those words would have meant everything to me once. I would have run barefoot to wherever she was. But now they felt heavy, late, forced. I turned my phone face down and tried to sleep, but sleep refused to come. Memories attacked me in the dark. Her laughter, her promises, the way she watched me cry and did nothing. I remembered begging the universe for one message from her when my life was falling apart. It never came. Now she was the one begging. At dawn, I finally replied, "Where?" Her response came immediately. "The old bus stop, please." That place again. The bus stop where we once waited for buses we could barely afford. The place where we shared roasted corn and dreams bigger than our pockets. I wrapped my sweater tightly around myself and stepped out. When I arrived, my heart sank. Zara was sitting on the bench like a stranger. Her shoulders were bent, her eyes swollen, her clothes plain. No confidence, no shine, just exhaustion and fear clinging to her skin. She looked up when she saw me, and broke. She stood up, but her legs seemed weak. Tears fell before she could stop them. "Nia," she whispered. I stayed where I was. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was thick, uncomfortable, painful. It carried everything we never said. "I ruined everything," she finally cried. "I ruined us." I folded my arms, not to protect myself from her, but from the memories. She started talking fast, like she was afraid I would leave. She told me how she lost control of her money, how people she trusted stole from her, how her manager turned against her. She told me how she was dropped like she never mattered. Every word sounded familiar. It was my story, just wearing her face now. "They all left me," she sobbed. "Everyone." I swallowed hard. "You didn't mind when they left me," I said quietly. That made her cry harder. "I was scared," she said. "They told me you were dangerous to my image. They said I had to choose." "And you chose," I replied. She nodded. That nod felt like a knife. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness," she said. I couldn't disappear without telling you the truth." We sat down, leaving space between us. The early morning breeze felt cold against my skin. "Do you know what hurt the most?" I asked. She shook her head. "It wasn't the money. It wasn't the fame. It was the silence. Watching lies destroy me while you said nothing." She covered her face with her hands. "I hated myself every day," she whispered. "But I didn't know how to come back." I looked at her then. Really looked. She wasn't the powerful woman from the internet. She wasn't the girl who abandoned me either. She was someone broken by the same world she thought had saved her. But pain does not erase responsibility. "I can listen," I said slowly. "But I can't fix this for you." She nodded again, this time without lifting her head. "I don't want to use you," she said. I just didn't want to disappear without facing what I did. That honesty hurt more than her tears. When the sun began to rise, I stood up. I hope you find peace, I said, but my healing can't depend on your regret. She looked up at me with red eyes. Will you ever forgive me? She asked. I paused. I don't know yet, I said truthfully, but I won't destroy myself to save you again. I walked away without looking back. My heart ached, but it was steady. Because meeting her again did not reopen my wounds, it showed me something important. She came back broken. But I was no longer the one bleeding, and somewhere inside me I knew this was not the end. The truth still had to come out, and when it did, everything would change. I thought meeting Zara would give me peace. It didn't. Instead, it opened a door I had kept locked inside my heart. Old questions came back. Old anger rose quietly. I tried to focus on my work, on my life, but my mind kept returning to one thing, the truth. Not the version people believed, the real one. 2 days after our meeting, Zara sent me another message. This time it wasn't begging. It was careful. There are things I didn't tell you. Things you should know. I didn't reply immediately, but something inside me said this was important, not for her, but for me. We met again in the afternoon, in a small cafe far from cameras and gossip. Zara looked different from the last time, still broken but calmer, like someone who had accepted the fall. She reached into her bag and brought out documents. I should have shown you this before everything went wrong, she said. My chest tightened. She explained how her manager and Toby had planned everything from the beginning, how they needed a reason to control her, and cutting off her past was part of it, how they turned me into a threat so she would obey them. Messages were deleted, stories were twisted, lies were fed to her slowly until she believed them. They told me you wanted to expose me, she said quietly. That you were jealous. I closed my eyes. So you destroyed me to protect yourself, I said. Yes, she whispered. She showed me proof. Messages, voice notes, transactions. The same lies that ruined my name were written clearly on those pages. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from anger. This could clear my name, I said slowly. She nodded. I want the truth out, she said, even if it destroys what little I have left. That was when I understood something. This was no longer about friendship. It was about justice. Together we went to someone who could help, a journalist known for exposing lies without fear. He listened carefully, reviewed the evidence, and asked one question that shook the room. Are you ready for what comes next? He asked Zara. She swallowed hard. Yes. The story came out a week later. It was everywhere. Screenshots, names, proof. People who once praised Zara now turned against her manager and Tobe. Sponsors demanded answers. Online voices shifted from praise to outrage. And for the first time, my name was spoken with sympathy, not shame. People reached out. Apologies came in. Some were sincere, some were not. But they came. I didn't celebrate. I felt light. Zara lost almost everything that day. Contracts were cancelled. Her image was damaged. But she stood by the truth, without running. That mattered. We met one last time after everything broke. I don't expect us to be what we were, she said. I just needed to make it right. I looked at her and saw someone who had finally learned. I don't hate you, I said. But I won't pretend nothing happened, she nodded. I understand. We parted without hugging. That was the hardest part, because sometimes closure doesn't come with tears or forgiveness. Sometimes it comes with truth. And as I walked away, I knew one thing for sure. The lie that destroyed me had finally died, and in its place, something stronger was being born. Noise finally died down. Silence returned. But this time, it was different. It was not the silence of being ignored or erased. It was the silence that comes after a storm, when everything broken is finally visible and nothing is hidden anymore. The truth had done its work. My name was no longer followed by whispers. People who once avoided me now greeted me carefully, some with shame in their eyes. A few apologized openly. Others pretended nothing ever happened. I learned to accept both without letting either define me. I didn't need everyone to believe me anymore. I believed myself. My life did not suddenly become easy. I did not wake up rich or famous. But something important had changed inside me. I walked differently. I spoke with calm. I no longer shrank when I entered a room. The business I had started slowly began to grow. Not fast, not loudly, but steadily. One customer turned into two. Two turned into referrals. For the first time, my effort was producing results I could see. Each small win felt personal, like proof that I was rebuilding something real. Auntie Mo smiled when she saw me one evening. "You look lighter," she said. I was. Not because the past was gone, but because it no longer controlled me. Zara stayed quiet after everything. She did not try to force her way back into my life. She accepted the distance. Sometimes, I would see her online living simply now, far from the spotlight that once defined her. She had lost much, but she had also gained something rare: humility. One afternoon she sent me a message. Not an apology, not a request. Just a simple sentence. "I hope life is kinder to you now." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I am kinder to myself now. That was enough. Forgiveness, I learned, is not always about returning to what was. Sometimes it is about releasing yourself from carrying anger that no longer serves you. I did not forget what happened. I did not excuse it. But I let it stop living rent-free in my heart. Our friendship did not return to what it once was. And that was okay. Some bonds are not meant to be repaired. They are meant to teach. I understood now that loyalty without boundaries is self-destruction. Love without self-respect is dangerous. And silence, when used to protect power, is a form of violence. I had learned all of that the hard way. One evening, as I closed my shop and watched the sun dip below the horizon, I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who believed friendship meant enduring anything, the one who stayed even when it hurt, the one who begged to be seen. I felt compassion for her, but I did not miss her. Because the woman standing there now knew her worth without needing permission from anyone else. Zara's wealth once made me feel small, but losing her friendship taught me something far greater than money ever could. It taught me that people may forget you when success lifts them up, but life has a way of reminding them who truly mattered when everything falls apart. And as for me, I didn't win by becoming richer than her. I won by becoming whole. This was not a story about revenge. It was not a story about winning. It was a story about survival, truth, and self-respect. And if there is one lesson my story leaves behind, it is this: never measure your worth by how long someone chooses to remember you. Measure it by how well you stand when they forget.